Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to live stream. Yeah, it's really good to see you all here. Yes, so today's title is, let's have a look what today's title is. I've forgotten already. Can non-duality change your, can non-duality change your life? Understanding its true influence. Nice. Yeah, that is a great title. It was again made up by ChatGPT. They are very good at making up titles. Yeah. And please, if you think of a title, please put it in the comments in the box below the video. I'm sorry, somebody did that before and I forgot. I forgot to look at them again, so do that. I can see my video is a bit jaggedy. I'm unsure why, but that's the way it is. So yes, non-duality can change your life. Even though the recognition of it, or the energetic shift, whatever you call it, is instantaneous and not happening to a person. So it's not the person that awakes. It's not a timeline that awakens, it's not a body that awakens. It is consciousness waking back up to itself. But it's never really been asleep. But even though that is prior to the body-mind mechanism, and it's not to do with the body-mind mechanism, the only thing you could say is maybe there is a release somewhere in the body-mind mechanism. So something drops away in the body-mind, but that's an unknown. And the effects of that can be dramatic in the personal life. So it depends. It seems like there's different levels of awakening. After 12 years, I'm now talking about levels. Yeah. So, after 12 years, I'm talking about levels. But there seems to be different levels, like or different levels of the integration into the person. Maybe that's a better way to say it. So from watching now, and from being with people for so many years now, in non-duality, there can be the mind awakening, which is a mental realization. There can be a heart awakening, which is an emotional, energetic awakening. And then there can be an energetic expansion that happens where awareness or big consciousness goes back into itself. My favorite saying from Nisargadatta at the moment is where consciousness meets beingness. So where the consciousness and the beingness stop being inside the body, but they go back out into everything. So there is this massive energetic expansion that happens. And the other parts is like the dropping of the seeking or the self, the illusory self. And it doesn't seem like all of these things come together. It seems like for some it does, but for some it's that they have these different parts that awaken in them at different times It's really interesting. And why not? If this life is infinite possibilities, then why not that there's infinite ways in which awakening can happen? And I love that it's all included. I feel like that's the true nature of non-duality. If we look at India, where non-duality seemed to really thrive, like Hinduism and Indian culture, it's so inclusive of all different religions. There's so many different gods, there's so many different paths, there's so many different ways. And from my understanding of Hinduism, it doesn't exclude any way. It gives credence to all ways. It's only the people that become involved in it that begin to say, no, my path is better than yours, or my awakening is better than yours. But I just say that just as a precursor to what I'm going to say, where can non-duality change your life? So I feel like all of it changes the person, all of these different awakenings, but to different degrees. So the kind of more mental awakening, which is when the mind recognizes that consciousness, or that there's something looking at the mind. So there's something that is watching the mind, and there's some form of separation that happens there. I don't know what some people might call that witnessing, but other people might say, no, that isn't witnessing, that's something else. And that's profound, that shift, that recognition. That does affect the person. To realize, even if it's on a mental level, that consciousness, there is something watching the person. And I think this is what a lot of people call waking up, although I'm never always sure what people are calling waking up. But to recognize it is a really profound thing. That's no small feat. That's really profound. And yeah, that's going to shift the way that you look at the world and the way that you interact with the world. It's really divine. Because once that's been seen, that part, you can't really go back to unseeing it. It can kind of be some form of forgetting, but it's like on the tip of your tongue. You kind of know that you aren't everything, that there is something else. And that will change your thinking and change your karma, your behaviors, your habits. It might not do it instantaneously, but it will do it. So, yeah, sometimes people get to that stage and they think that that's all. They think that that's the end of what the teachers are speaking about. And they're like, my God, is this it? Nothing's happened. I just realized that there's something watching the person. And they feel very disappointed. And I sometimes hear videos of people talking about how ordinary it is, and it's not something special. And I think they're talking about this shift, this part of awakening. And in the moment, I don't think it changes anything emotionally. But I think through time, it changes a lot. And I think it's phenomenal. And I think that a lot of the people in the audience have had that shift. What a phenomenal, amazing community we are. We don't need to argue about which teacher's better, which teaching's best, which awakening is the ultimate. Like, just that is something we can all celebrate together. That's freaking amazing. Yeah. And maybe at this point your head is in the tiger's mouth once this is realized. You can't unrealize it. So yeah, please comment in Telegram if I'm having any technical issues, just because my wonderful partner has upgraded my system and made it better, and this is the first trial. We did 2 test runs this afternoon. Sound is perfect. Yeah. So that really, is a phenomenal thing to happen. And it only gets deeper from that. Only gets deeper. After that, which doesn't always have to be the first one that happens, you can actually have the awakening of the heart first. But we're going to go as if we have the awakening of the mind first. That, after that awakening, it still most probably doesn't feel like emptiness is experiencing. It still feels like you are experiencing. But there is some bigger knowing. There is some expansion in perception and bigger knowing. And when it's talked about, it's understood, it's recognized, and there can be more of a moving back to that. Maybe you're still practicing putting the attention in the attention. And I say still, not as a dismissal. That's just the nature of words. It's like phenomenal for that to have happened. It's like, makes me want to cry that there's these apparent humans out there that have also recognized this. Yeah. What a celebration. Yeah. So after that happens, maybe some people give up for a period and are disappointed by that and think, it hasn't made my life better. I'm going off to enjoy some sensory pleasure, primarily eating, sexing, and excreting. Yeah. But eventually, and for some there won't be a stopping there, but eventually those that do stop there will come back. And this next part is where the seeking gets challenged. So what seeking is to me, and the way that I was taught it by my phenomenal teachers, which maybe I should name out of reverence, Roger Castillo, Ramesh Balsika, who was his teacher, also my teacher, but Roger was with him longer. I met Roger through Ramesh. And Ramesh told me I had to listen to everything Roger said. Tony Parsons, the almighty Gangaji, Sangharakshita from the foundation of the Western Buddhist order, which is now another name that is difficult for a dyslexic. and so many others, but they were most probably the main teachers. And part of the reason that I name them is YouTube's doing an amazing thing where it's recognizing you naming people and then putting a link to them below. So you can just look down there and find those teachers. And I would have more than likely gone to more female teachers if there was them, but it was so hard to get any non-duality teachers. Back in the day. So the next part, as described to me by my teachers and from my own experience, is this seeking dynamic. And what seeking is the belief that what you're looking for will arrive from pleasure. So the Buddhists called it craving. So the belief that pleasure will eventually get you home and pain will take you away from home. And the home that you're looking for is actually the big consciousness and beingness, the meeting of the big consciousness and beingness, the no thing and the everything. This is what you're looking for. And the belief is it's found in an object. And this starts in very early childhood and most probably starts in lives before that. You're not sure if there's lives, but most probably there's lives before that. But it doesn't start seemingly until the brain encounters a certain age. So you get a few years prior to it starting before that kicks in. So the body-mind has habits and conditions. So habit will be a way of being. Habits can be taught, or you could be born with them, and the same with conditions. And you can equally have trauma, and that's not seeking. These were there prior to the seeking starting. So the baby could be traumatized at 1 year old by being dropped on its head, and for its rest of its life it will have a sensitivity around the head, maybe. It can even be born with its parents' traumas. So if your grandparents or parents were in the war, then you can be born with that trauma. And that's not a spiritual idea. That's validated also in psychology, where they've tested it, unfortunately, on rats, that you can inherit trauma. The seeking starts at somewhere maybe between 2, 5, 10 years old, depending on your predisposition. And in the very rare few, it never starts. And the seeking is this, what creates the I, the illusory I. So seeking is the belief that you are a form. So prior to the seeking starting, you were. So the big beingness came into the body and there was a sense of I am. But then when the seeking starts, you become I am Bob. I am Teresa. I am Muhammad. I am Alex. And that's actually the beginning of seeking. That's the first seeking pattern. And like a tree has the momentum to grow upwards, most trees, the seeking is a momentum to be a form at its base. And its basic feeling is a fear of death, pain, and a fear of being abandoned, so a lack of love. So that's the seeking. And the first seeking is I am a name, and that is the attempt to be something, to fit in with society, and it's an attempt to not be dead. So because of my severe neural diversity, in my day it was called learning difficulties, but now they're trying to rephrase it because they realize that it's not learning difficulties, it's just a different brain. Isn't that fantastic? That everything in our society is being incorporated. There isn't this one standard normal person that's just got good memory and does well at school. So because of my severe, like quite extreme, I mean even saying severe is negative, but extreme neural diversity, I struggled with speech, which is funny, 'cause now look what I do. And I struggled with comprehension around speech. So yeah, it was predominantly around speech that was my problem. I seemingly was good at tasks and completing tasks, but when it came to speech, I often couldn't pronounce words. I would say them muddled up, or I wouldn't speak. And I had to go for a speech therapy. I actually have it now still. I kind of stutter, but it's not noticed because I do such a good job at covering up. And I'm not stuttering out of nervousness. I'm stuttering because I forget my words. They don't come naturally to me, words. So you might hear me like the word's not quite coming and I'm going to speak. Yeah. So sometimes you notice I say the wrong words or back to front, or I say do and I mean didn't, so I'm actually saying the opposite. Anyway, enough about me. Because of this, I remember becoming someone, because becoming someone and seeking are deeply connected to thinking and words. So it comes with words. We didn't have this seeking prior to speaking. Animals don't have this seeking. It's a human phenomena that comes with words and the idea of objective, an object, a center, an idea of a me. Subjective. Oh, I forget. You see, this is dyslexia. I remember this happening, and I remember the insistence of people around me to call myself Lisa, me. And it was really painful for me to do. And I would reject it and try to avoid it. And I remember them getting to write my name, and this pressure for me to call myself Lisa, a me. And so I remember this pressure, but a lot of people maybe don't remember this pressure that they were under to be somebody. And this is why it's the first seeking, because it's the seeking to fit in, to be loved by those that surround you, and a fear of being kicked out and abandoned. Like, you have to be someone to fit into society. And I remember this moment where this feeling like if I didn't speak, I would not ever fit in with society. I would not be a part of it. I would be on the outskirts. I wouldn't be able to relate with people. And I remember this seeming choice. And I assume if that hadn't happened, I would have been put into special needs schools. My mum denies this now, but I was always told that the school said that I needed to go to a special needs school. But she says that's not true now, but I think that she forgets. But so do I. But she's at the time when she forgets. So I was always told that they wanted to put me in a special needs school. Yeah. And my parents fought it and eventually got my IQ tested. So this seeking is what creates an I. So it's not what creates a character or the ability to talk about a character. It's this energetic force that is always trying to be something, and it always feels agitated, and it creates a location inside the body. So before that, you were everywhere and nowhere. You were the big consciousness meeting the big beingness. And then this started, and then you became something in here from the phenomena that I've just described, and it grows over time. So as a child, you might remember a lot of freedom and wonder because it wasn't very strong, this location. And through time, you became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The you. Yes. So this is another part that crumbles in awakening. So after you've had the realization, the intellectual realization that you are not the person, the character, that you're something beyond that there is something watching that, what then begins to happen is the deconstruction of that seeker. There might have been the deconstruction before that realization, but it continues and it gets deeper and deeper. The Buddhists would say that you're in the stream. Like, even if you abandon non-duality and go back into the world, in a way, everything you experience in the world will be pointing to deconstruct this. It's like you've stepped into the river of this realization, and the river can only lead you to the big, gigantic ocean. So, and then you will go through a process which is very energetical, of deconstructing that seeking. And as you deconstruct that seeking, you'll go from the head to the heart. The head to the heart. So you will be challenged externally, because the internal and the external in the end are the same thing. And internally you will challenge yourself by investigation, emotional release, body work. This will all begin to appear in your life through the relationships that you have. All of it will create an inward investigation to deconstruct the seeking. And that seemingly goes through time. And the more that it gets deconstructed, the more there will be a movement of attention from just being behind the eyes to being in the heart. This isn't for everyone, this process, because some people waken from the heart first. But this is how it goes in many ways. So you go down to the heart, and then you will begin to recognize, there'll still be seeking there maybe, but it will be greatly reduced. And then you might recognize at that point this I am. You might have intellectually got the I am, but you'll begin to feel it. And you'll begin to feel that the I am is love. Like I am. If you repeat that to yourself, it's love. I am. And you begin to taste it and get a feeling for it. And you might even begin to reside there. And you might do practice. That's another one, is cultivating attention that happens with deconstructing the seeking. And this is a next phase of awakening, this realizing there is the I am. And it will continue the deconstruction of your seeking patterns. And then at some point, they will begin to get very thin. They will be seen through very quickly. So you'll begin to seek something, and you'll just know that you're seeking something. So in the past, say if you're seeking a romantic relationship, you might believe that they complete you, and that's only them, and if you don't have them, your life is over. Whereas now, when that comes up, you might realize that that intensity is actually from a lack of parent love in childhood, for example. And when it happens, you can go very quickly back to it, and this fades away. There's a quick going back, and it's recognized in the body, you know. You've got the stories which are in the mind about what you're seeking, and you recognize it through the body. You realize that in that great urge for that woman or that man or that non-binary person, you realize from that there is a feeling of discomfort in the body. Actually, that is covering up a discomfort, and you can get to it really quickly. And by this stage, everything's become very thin. You see through the illusions. Emotions are coming and going quicker. The emotions might be bigger and stronger, but they're coming and going quicker. There's less attachment. And this is phenomenal. This is freaking amazing. It's amazing that that's happening, and this is so deep, and it's not appreciated enough by people that are seeking or by people that are teaching, that is beyond that. There are human beings that do this, that are prepared to deconstruct themselves. And as you go from the mind to the body, you might really begin to see that there is no doership. Like when you're really resting attention in the body and being very present, you see that thoughts and feelings and emotions are appearing not from a location, not from a person. So you can begin to really see this, that doership is a lie, that all thoughts are a lie, that there's no right or wrong. And maybe really see that your true nature is not knowing, that no thought is true. So everything's becoming very thin, very thin. And then at some point, after all of this, there will be this energetic explosion, which is phenomenal, where the consciousness, big consciousness, and the I am stop being personalized and located in the body, and they go back into everything. So the body still feels that sense of I am and a personal awareness, but the big consciousness behind the personal awareness and the big beingness behind the I am go forward into everything. And this is phenomenal. This is where it's deeply known, not through the intellect, but by experience in the very instant. Everything is empty and full simultaneously, and everything is you as that one, as the big one, as the ultimate. That it's not the I am, or the beingness doesn't belong to somebody in here. So it doesn't mean the character stops, or the habits, or the conditions, or the trauma stop. There's this big energetic explosion where they stop being in the body. And this can come with immense bliss and positive feelings, and can be very healing. Although it doesn't have to be healing. But you've heard some magical stories where, like there's this one lady where it happened to, where she healed her cancer. But that's not a given. That's what happened in that story. Yeah, Ramana Krishna, he died at 51 of cancer, so it's not a given. And he was a great Indian saint. And with this big energetic movement, there can be lots of kundalini arising. There could have been lots of kundalini before as well, or what they call kundalini. There can be lots of energetic movement in the body. And with this movement, although it might have begun to happen before, everything becomes very energetic first. So the emotions are very energetic and connected to the chakras. There's a lot more of unknown, of mystery. And this stage, with this big explosion, where there's lots of bliss, that can really change the person. So the other ones change the person, but this one can really change the person. The person can remain with the same habits and conditions, but they become maybe very see-through, and maybe very big traumas get very reduced. But not necessarily, it seems to be different. But from meeting people that had these big energetic shifts, normally the personality changes a lot. Like they might have struggled with depression or anxiety before, and that can sometimes really go with this big energetic shift. Yeah. And there could have been a lot of relaxation of that prior to it as well. From my experience of this big explosion, is afterwards the body-mind still has habits and conditions, so it can still, get caught in difficulties with other humans. So say if you've got a habit of being over chatty or overbearing, that might still remain. If you've got a habit of quick to anger, that might still remain, but it might totally disappear. So yeah, and for me personally, I still get what I call old seeking patterns coming up. So, and those seem to fade and get exposed more and more over the years, but they're very light, Advaita light. So for example, But it's hard to know. So for example, I was going to say the caffeine one. Like I started caffeine when I was like 10 years old, maybe. In England, we start young on the tea. It's not considered like coffee. It's like any 10-year-old, a 5-year-old can have it. Yeah, maybe it's the same in India. The tea, and you see, I'm not sure if that's habit or condition or old seeking patterns. This is where it gets very hard to define. So it doesn't feel like it contracts me as such, but I can feel that energy coming up at points that, you know, it's like it's not properly listening to the body and it wants to have high energy. So I don't know, it's hard to, you begin to not be able to find that boundary anymore. It's like becomes a very fine line, that part. But it's just habits or conditioning. It doesn't come with a, you know, like a translation app or something in the brain. This is seeking and this isn't. It's, yeah. So I just say that to cover all bases, because I feel like you should endeavor as a human to always expand. Just like the plants expand towards the light, we should endeavor to expand. So even after these big shifts, there's not an idea of arrival on the human level. There's this idea of expanding. Like I can, as a human on the human level, let in more love. I can be more compassionate. I can be kinder. I can be less reactive. I can be more generous. I can have better boundaries. That's my one. Yeah, being a helper characteristic. Boundaries are important. Yeah. So the process of awakening on the apparent human level is not easy. It's not easy. For some, it is, but that's very few. For most, you have to really confront the seeking patterns, which I think a lot of people call the shadow, but I wasn't taught it like that, so I call it seeking patterns. And that's the hidden motivation underneath, the shadow side. And you have to become more genuine, you know, not lying. The human in seeking mode is kind of lying to itself and to the external. Like, for example, I don't want to make myself out to be like some wonderfully enlightened human on the human level, because I'm not. I have my flaws. But I just give an example of this women's group I'm in from childhood. We have a chat group, and I've known them since childhood. And they have done some investigation into themselves, but not much. And what I noticed is that they're all competing with each other, but they have no idea that they're competing with each other. So, you know, it's like whose house is the shiniest, who is the best mother, and they don't know they're doing that. They just feel this like reactivity and harshness comes, and there's a lot of passive aggression, but none of them are really conscious of it. And all of this really has to be confronted, not for the first initial one, but after that initial realization that there is something watching the person, so the realization of awareness, that you aren't the person, you're awareness, and you're going from the head to the heart. You know, these sorts of behaviors have to be really confronted, and it's really painful to confront them. So if I confronted any of those women in that group, most of them would most probably have a hissy fit and accuse me of being in competition with them, of me being belittling, of me being this and that. They would not go down quickly or easily. They will really, really resist because of shame, feeling not good enough, because they have an idea of themselves that they're a nice person and they don't want to see this side of themselves. So the resolution to keep looking inwards and to keep going is, really intense. And that's often where the teacher comes in or a mentor comes in to help reflect that back and to help that journey inwards. Yeah. I was so lucky to have Roger Castillo. He should be in the box below now because I've mentioned his name. He really confronted me on my shit. He really machine gunned me. I'd be speaking to him and playing all nice, and he'd be like, "You're really angry with me. You're being furious. You're passive." And I'd be like, my whole face would be like going, trying to remain smiling and nice, and then inside there'd be deep rage, but I'd be in denial of it. It was really hard. I felt like monsters came out of me. I felt like I realized I could be a murderer. I could be a pedophile. I could be the villain of any type, pushed to the, in that seeking energy. When that seeking energy doesn't get what it wants to the extremes, it can do anything. It can do anything. I realized that my goodness or my niceness or any identity that I had about myself weren't inherent to me. Lisa was what she was because of a set of conditions. And generally, she had very good conditions, even though there was some very difficult things that happened in childhood. But compared to most of the people in the world, she had a lot of good, privileged conditions. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes I feel that people on this path, they expect to just watch videos, to understand things intellectually, do a bit of crying, and then, well, why aren't I there yet? My goodness. If we counted up the amount of emotional releasing hours I did with Roger and intensive therapy stuff I did with the Buddhist group, with Roger, there are those 10 years. I didn't work much. I did work some, but my priority was to do this, not to work for 10 years. It was dedicated to this 24/7. Yeah, going on retreats for 10, 20 days, 10 hours meditation a day, sometimes people look at me and get the wrong impression that it was like a couple of realizations and wham, bam, thank you, mum. I burned in hell for years with Roger. Not all the time, but there was lots of it. I would lay on the bed for days, my body would be shaking because of all the kundalini stuff and energy. For days I wouldn't be able to get out of bed because it was so intense energetically. I'd go screaming, crying, it was like a monster was coming out of me. People from the outside would think I was insane. I went mad there. I was so lucky to have Roger, who was so kind and patient with me. And that also takes maturity. To really appreciate your teachers. Because your teachers, they also have a humanness. So to be able to see beyond that humanness in them and the divine magic that's coming through them, like Roger had his humanness, Ramesh had his humanness, there was all this sex scandal stuff that happened with Ramesh. But to be able to see the gems of them, even if they did stuff which is considered abusive, I'm not saying like allow yourself to abuse or not condemn what Ramesh did, but you see it's not really about them. And we all have our humanness. It took me 10 years after that big pop to really integrate what happened with me and Roger. So really like integrate that narrative, like that was so intense. And come to a peace with it. Yeah. What a chatterbox I've been. That is nearly 50 minutes I've been talking. People are sitting there popping to ask a question and I just don't stop. And look, Duracell batteries. Okay. So, where are the questioners? They're not in OBS. They're not in YouTube. Where are you? They're in Zoom. Yeah, so if you have a question, you can put your hand up in Zoom. That would be much appreciated. Okay, nobody has their... Oh, there's lots of you in there. Hey, everybody in Zoom. Yeah, hi Isabel. It's really nice to do this. My partner showed me Paul Hedderman doing this. So this is to Paul Hedderman. Paul Hedderman is a phenomenal speaker, if you haven't heard of him. To just say hello to everybody. It's really beautiful. If you want to join the Telegram group and to be able to get into the Zoom, then you can find out how to do so on my website. So hey Isabel. Oh, yeah, with the dyslexia, you have to apologize. This is going to be a bit of a bastardization with the names. Luhan. Hi, Luhan. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Len. Hi, Barney. Hi, Talia. Hi, Matthias. Hi, Josh. Hello, G. Hi, Bill. Nicole. Pesto. Lily. Hey, Lily. Hi, William. That's funny. There is more here in the side than there is in there. Oh, well, I don't know why that is. Oh, that's because you're that way. Hi, Tim Barwood. Hey, Paul. Hey, Jorg. Hi, Josh. Hi, Brian. Hi, Eric. Hey, Ramona. It's so nice to have your videos on too. So the Zoom is separate from the stream, so it's only your name and your voice that will be heard on the stream, and I've totally separated it now, so not even your full written name will be on the stream, just the name that I'm saying. Yeah. If you want to ask a question, then you can put your hand up. I have a question in Zoom. There might also be questions in Zoom chat, but I've got it in Telegram. So this is from Sarah. Hey, Sarah. So I'm just going to say people's first names. I've tried to step away from doing that to give people privacy, but other people do it, and I'm trying my best to give people privacy. It's easier if I say people's names. Sarah, just your first name. Hi Lisa. What is your view on ancestral healing? Is it possible to heal pain of people that come before us? My process is right in the middle of it, but I don't know if I believe in it. It's weird. I don't know if I believe in anything, Sarah. I mean, what is belief? To believe in something. I mean, that's what I love about non-duality, is that really there is no beliefs here. It's coming back to what we are, which is an unknowing. Right here, right now, this is, and it's absolute not knowing. It's not somebody knowing. It's not an idea, it's not a thought. It's not knowing. Like, what do we know here? There is perception happening. There is everything happening. But what do we know right here? So on the human level, like maybe I have beliefs, like I believe it's inappropriate to just go to the toilet in the middle of a children's playground or something. But I don't really believe it. It's like the body-mind has these beliefs, but who cares? So what's happening to you, Sarah, is there is a movement towards ancestral healing, and there is a participation in it, and then you're not sure that you believe in it or not. I don't know if it really matters. What matters is that you fully participate in it, because that's what's happening. And you don't need to fully participate in it to believe in it. A belief is something that comes and goes in order to communicate, in order to move something, like create a movement or something. But it's not needed in the moment that you're participating in the ancestral healing. All that's needed is that you 100% participate in it. And why not? If that's what God has presented to you, why not? And if it can or can't heal the ancestral line, does that really matter? It's healing something now. And if it's ancestral, if it's yours or theirs, it's what's appearing. So it's like giving it 100%. And the idea that you have the choice to move away from it or towards it is a superficial idea that you will go beyond. I mean, not that superficial, but it's not a truth, it's a movement more. So your job is just to participate in it because it's there. And I'm sure that will do phenomenal things. There's so much amazing therapy out there. And it's not so much about getting the right therapy or doing the right therapy. Although sometimes it is, but it's not so much that. It's more the doing it with your whole heart. Like with everything. Like really committing to it in that moment. Because that's what's appearing. This is, and so this ancestral healing is a movement of the divine. This is God releasing, God speaking, God knowing, absolute trust and conviction in that. Thank you so much for your question, Sarah. She says another comment. Yes, that is sort of how I approach it. Thank you, so true. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, there were so many wacky things I did. I mean, I was a Oshoite. I went to many groups in Osho. I don't know. I don't know the validity, you know. They were there and that's what's appearing, and it's like a total surrender to it. Yeah. Thank you. S. Question. Hi Lisa. In the Tibetan tradition, pardon me. In the Tibetan tradition of Dzogchen, it is said that simply resting in as what is all that's needed to be done once self, other, times is seen as illusory, and that the conditioned behavior calms by doing simply this. What do you think? I totally agree. But that doesn't mean in resting in that you don't find yourself in ancestral healing, or that you don't find yourself in EMDR, or you don't find yourself working with a shadow teacher. Like, why wouldn't that happen? So yeah, the most important thing is resting in yourself. But when you rest in yourself, you're completely trusting what the body wants. So it might be an emotional release, it might be doing meditation retreats, it might be understanding Ayurvedic therapies. Why not? Yeah. Thank you so much for your question. Govinda. Hi Lisa. How to overcome the tendency of wanting to fix the person emotionally, physically or mentally? Thanks and love. The most important thing is resting as what you are. That is the key to it all. Resting as you are right now, right here. And when you come from this place, fixing might appear, but it will have a different quality. It won't be about you getting, it will be about God expressing. God moving the body to fix, to heal, to do. So your most important quality is to rest here as you are, right here. Thank you so much, Govinda. So I just see that somebody put their hand up in Zoom, but I'm just going to go to the toilet first. One moment. Hey Brian, I just see that it's you that's raised your hand, and just because we seek a lot, I'm going to give other people the opportunity to ask their questions first. I'll answer them. Vera. And question, how do you choose a teacher? The teacher chooses you, Vera. Yeah, I mean, far out. I never chose Roger. In fact, when I first met Roger, I tried to get away from him. So, yeah, the qualities would be like someone that touches you and inspires you. There's different teachers for different things. So Roger really was like really destroying my egos, like Kali yoga, destroying my seeking and attachment, and like intense wisdom and clarity, mental clarity. And but there's other teachers. So there's a teacher that you can resonate with the heart. This is more Bhakti yoga. I feel like I'm more of a Bhakti teacher, even though I'm profoundly immersed in wisdom. No, that's a joke. I'm not the most verbally clear, I don't think, at all. Yeah. And the Bhakti teacher is more where you can see God in them, energetically. So sometimes it gets confused with falling in love with a teacher or loving them, but it's actually that you're resonating with God. I had it intensely with Gangaji, but I also had it with Tony Parsons and Nathan Gill. It was like they would speak and my heart would just melt. I didn't have romantic ideas onto them. But it was just this resonance. And that's like reminding you of your God, of the beingness, which is all things. Yeah. So I wouldn't get too much caught up on you having to pick, because who would be the you that's picking? So I would come down into the body, even though you know it's not you coming down into the body, and sort of like let your body really orientate towards it. And then also life will have its play and a teacher will appear. Most important with most things is don't get too mentally caught up on it. And then most probably it's good to stick to a few, you know. I'm not saying stick with one teacher, but I notice now there's a lot of like jumping around. Sometimes that's because you move on. Like there's stuff that's learned and then you move on, but it can also be avoidance. You know, when it's not blissful or when it doesn't suit your ideas. And it's a moving on. And you realize you're not going to get personal attention or personal love or... Thank you, Vera. S says, thank you so much. David, hi Lisa. Were these more energetic shifts in the heart after your awakening in Bali? I'm not sure if I know exactly what you mean by that. But after that awakening in Bali, everything became very energetical. Like emotions became really an energetic experience rather than a thought experience. So it was like if I felt anger, like everything felt anger. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed some questions. Andrea, Do you still feel discomfort at times? Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can have all emotions on the human level. I mean, some maybe are really reduced now. And I don't think I have hatred. Well, I know I don't have hatred. My interpretation of hatred. But maybe there's others that appear in my consciousness that have hatred. So that's still me in a way, but the Lisa character doesn't have that. But apart from that, I think all emotions, like I can have jealousy or insecurity. But some of them, like, somebody was challenging me over jealousy recently, and I realised that I really only have jealousy very smallly. So some of them become very reduced. Like they were talking about how this friend had destroyed this picture they had because they were jealous of it, and I don't mean that type of jealousy, but I can have all types of emotions, and definitely discomfort. Definitely. There can be a releasing of trauma. There can be crying. I can argue with people, get into arguments. Can get annoyed by people's behaviors. All types. It's harder to know whose is Lisa's and whose is the other person's feeling. In a way, you could say it's all yours. So I also feel like Lisa becomes like a mirror, so whoever she's in front of, she's sort of mirroring. Yeah, gets a bit confusing. But yeah, Lisa can infinitely improve on her habits and conditions and ways of being. What really decreased is the seeking, the one that owned these discomforts and these feelings and the seeking. There's still seeking patterns, I think, that can come up, but they're really, really reduced. There's not really any thought or feeling that anything will make me more content than what is. Ever. It's just more patterns of seeking that come up, old ways of being. Like there's got to be caffeine because I need to have energy or something. Yeah. So Lisa is really imperfect, and she can be all types of things. She can bully people sometimes if she doesn't get her way, by being forceful or something in her speech. But again, I make that sound really extreme, like I'm not like shouting and screaming at people, but yeah. So there's another part of me that's so untouched in that. It's this energy of Lisa appearing, and then there's another part that is so untouched. Govinda, can you recommend Ramesh inquiry if there is a decider? How is your experience with this inquiry? I assume what you mean by that is what Ramesh used to say of like in the evening take a glass of whiskey and look back to see when you made a choice. This is phenomenal exploration. So you take a choice in your day. So maybe the choice was to go and visit your grandparents, and then you explore when that choice began. Did it begin when the thought arose to see your grandparents? Did it begin when your parents encouraged you to see your grandparents? Did it begin when you were born? When your parents met? When your grandparents met? When does a choice begin? Yeah. If anyone wants to speak in Zoom, you're so super welcome to put your hand up. Yeah. And my partner like set up all this configuration to allow the questions to go into Zoom, yeah, it's better configuration. Now we're not going to use it this session. It's funny. Okay. So, yeah, and then last week when it didn't work, we had so many people calling in. JJT. Oh, David. Oh no, JJT. Hi. Are there or could there be desires without seeking, or kind of desires to express something authentically? Totally. You've got your natural desires. This is a desire to express non-duality. It just doesn't belong to anyone. It's not believing that the expression of non-duality will fulfill me, or that there is a me here to fulfill. There is an urge, a desire, which feels very loving, to do this. There can be an exploration into the human level as to why that desire arises. But yeah, desire is God's movement of me, God's movement of you. Different teachers call it different things, so Nisargadatta Maharaj would call desire seeking. But it's the momentum to move this body, like Nisargadatta had the momentum to speak, the momentum to go to the toilet, like a natural urge, a desire, an impulse. But that doesn't mean there's somebody doing it. It doesn't mean it belongs to somebody that's seeking to get out of it. It has a different quality when someone's not seeking. But maybe until you drop seeking, it's hard to recognize that. Like the person isn't really trying to get something from it. It's more an expression of love in the moment, the desire to help, the desire to speak, but they're not like speaking to fill themselves up. It's not that it's painful, like it's blissful for me speaking about non-duality. I find it really beautiful, but part of the bliss is that it's like pure giving, like it's like this pure desire to just speak, to share this. Not for an idea because I want to enlighten people or enlighten the world. Just it's coming like this, like the desire to eat. It feels like love. That even's how it feels with anger as well. Funny, eh? David, thank you. Yes, the heart opening deeper to include more and more. Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily the heart, but maybe. It's like all the chakras to me open to include more and more. Yeah. Ramona, I have asked a question on Zoom. Okay, cool. I could come online, but I want to make space for others. Oh, that's sweet. Ramona. Okay. Let's go to G. Thanks, G. I get to use the new system. Okay, you can unmute yourself. G. I have to go in here.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey there.
Hey.
Yeah, I can really recognize some things you're talking about today, about these different kinds of shifts.
Yeah.
Well, at least the more like the intellectual kind. I think I had that, just this understanding and realizing these different perspectives or something. And lately it's also more clear that what is the I am, and just it seems to be more available or something.
Mm.
And sometimes there's more residing in it
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
so that comes, I would assume, from, it's like you're going from the head to the heart, the more that you become. So, and in order for that to happen, there's been release. There's been a release from your seeking patterns to an extent.
yeah,
So there's been more acceptance and incorporation of the body on the body level.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
And
mean to interrupt you.
you know, it's really like that, and it's funny about the seeking, and then as you said, when you talk about the caffeine, I feel totally um like it's also my topic, like this feeling the need of energy somehow, and then it's like I just want to eat lots of chocolate, and I feel like I can't, I don't have any saying in it. It's like, why do I need it? But it's just there, this need somehow. Yeah. So, and also with others, sometimes it's easy to recognize the seeking. Um, yeah, but
Like
what to
others,
do?
like with others, it's easier to recognize the seeking in you or the seeking in them.
Um, both,
Yeah.
both. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, in the end, it's the same movement. Like other people's seeking is your seeking, because who are you and who are they? Whatever is appearing in your consciousness is you. Like, so they're,
yeah,
like my partner was saying the other day, he was saying, like, it's all in the film. So you is in the film, and they are in the film.
yeah,
And what you are is the watching of the film. And you also are the whole entire film. So,
yeah. Funny like that. Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, that's just amazing. And also when you talk about just this um like this passion for sharing, but not in a way like to tell somebody about it, but just like this feeling like I want to share it somehow. Like I just wanna talk about it or something, or um it's pretty nice. Like, but it's also like a challenge to stay in that compassionate way of just talking about it without getting sucked into trying to change somebody or whatever. Like
yeah.
to have like some kind of intention behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because the subject can be very emotive. So it can create a lot of emotions in the person that you're speaking to about, or they can just be bored. But if they actually
Mm,
begin to listen, then they can get very emotive. And so then to
mm,
resist the temptation to try to fix or try to soothe that, to allow them to have their reaction to it.
yeah. And also not getting triggered yourself by that reaction. It's like
Yeah,
such a challenge, and
yeah,
yeah, but it's somehow, yeah, somehow happening sometimes. And I had one topic, I maybe we can talk about it a little bit, and then
yeah,
it's because I have some connection to a woman lately, and she also has a lot of awareness, I would say, and about these topics and everything, but it's still like somehow the personalities get to know each other, and it's a little bit like I yeah, it's I have a little bit I want to stay with myself and this path, this seeming path. I mean, it's uh, and still. explore that, and at the same time, it's a little bit like I feel, oh, I hope it's not preventing me somehow to go my way, So
Yeah.
it's a little bit like that, and yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
have some idea about it.
I feel like once you step into the river of awakening, which you have,
Mhm.
then everything that appears is there to destroy illusion.
Mhm.
So you might think that she's there to give you pleasure or to give you company or to take away loneliness or very pleasurable, but really she's there to take away illusion. So when you see her with the right eyes, when you see life with the right eyes, you'll see that there's only one thing that's happening for everybody really, but particularly those that have stepped into awakening, is that they're going towards the ocean. So relationships are really great at showing illusion. They can be so triggering because you have these two different body minds that come together, and then we've got a society that has a very conditioned idea of what that looks like and what that has to be, what a relationship has to be, and then you have to compromise to create a life together, and you have to communicate around the habits and the conditions and the traumas of each individual. It takes such skill to remain open to the other person. It takes to not begin to shut down. I feel like a lot of people that aren't into this subject particularly, like they sort of shut themselves down more and more, even though that is their perfect journey to awakening. Like they cannot cope with the radical honesty that's needed in relationship. They cannot cope with their partner's radical honesty or their radical honesty. So they begin to close down to the other person, and they begin to not show themselves. And as you begin to not show yourself, then you can't truly love them. You can only love them in like in this openness. And so, once you do this, once you stepped into the river of awakening and you're committed to this path, then it's a phenomenal exploration of what closes you down. Because naturally your commitment will be to open and expand. Ultimately, those in society that close down, that's their perfect path. But because everything is perfect in the end, it's keeping the heart open, like in every instant, a commitment to seeing them as beyond their personality structure. And the only way that you can do that is by totally and utterly accepting your personality structure and their personality structure. Totally accepting their darkness as well as their light, just like your darkness and your light. And all of us have the darkness and the light, including myself. Like it's nobody's excluded from that. And just in the very nature of being alive, we destroy. And in the very nature of my clothes being made, I destroy. In the very nature of eating, I destroy. But it's not just that, it's also in relationship. By the very nature of, say for myself, I like the kitchen to be clean. In that very nature, to like, even with living with someone, to like the kitchen to be clean, there is a rejection of the partner's messiness. And there's nothing wrong with that, liking the kitchen to be clean or liking it to be dirty, but it's an acceptance of that and an acceptance that your way isn't right. That their dirtiness in the end is as welcome as anything. But can I just say, because my partner will most probably listen to this, I'm considered the dirty one in our relationship. But just so to be honest, just so he doesn't feel like I'm like making out I'm some sort of clean. I mean, I consider myself a clean one, but I've had it pointed out, and I understand that I'm the dirty one.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's all about the definition and about the moment, and but it's still like how appears, and then if you stay really aware, and then you can feel it, like when is it the inside taking over, like judging or leaving a plate there, and it's like it's just these all kinds of dynamics happening then, and then you feel like, oh, I want to clean it, or I don't want to clean it, and
and it's just saying so totally open to that and mentally flexible, like say, which the mental flexibility is like part of this, like part of Jnana Yoga is mental flexibility. So if they leave the plate there, so it's me leaving the plate there because I'm the dirty one, but if they leave the plate there, it's not an assault against you. You know, this is the flexibility. It doesn't mean that you don't ask them to clean it and you don't point out that they said they would clean it and not to leave it there, but they're not doing something against you. They're a movement of the divine. And this is where it's like staying open. It doesn't mean that you don't have arguments about it, but it's totally staying internally open to it all. That there isn't this right or wrong party. And it's not about getting to right or wrong, it's getting to a harmony with each other. Like that's what communication is about, is to finding your harmony. And this commitment to expanding, this commitment to honesty, the commitment to really saying how you feel and not hiding yourself, even if that includes like a grumpiness because a plate was left out, which we can all see as like a silliness, but it's not a silliness if that's what's appearing. It's like the silliness is just hiding that, and the silliness is the other one feeling offended about that. There's nothing to be offended about in these conversations, because whose is whose. There's not a right person or wrong one. I'm not the wrong one for being dirty or clean, or they're the wrong one for being dirty or clean. It is what is. And our nature is so often in the human level is to be like, you're the wrong one, I'm the right one. Who is wrong or right? There's this dance happening, and it's like total in loveness with both. With the stubbornness of one, with the rejection of the other. It's like totally not looking for the right or wrong. It's just this openness to explore and to see, and that's the same openness that we take with ourselves and our own mind. There's nothing to reject here. It's all an act of God. We don't need to be offended by ourselves. But if that happens, like offense by ourselves, it's like total openness to that on every level. There's nothing which isn't God. It's really falling back in love with yourself and with the other. And that comes from this commitment to this moment, to really seeing what you are in this moment, which is no thing and all things. And then that creates a lack of attachment to the personality and to the outcomes. I must assert my power. I must be seen as good by the other. It's actually all you truly want is to know yourself, is, as Nisargadatta would say, is for consciousness to meet beingness. That's all you really want, is presence. Really recognizing that.
Beautifully said.
And even in this conversation, so even though I might have said things that you already know, it's like, and you can say that to me. I'm totally open to someone saying, "I already know this, Lisa. Can we try a different angle?" But it's there's also another part which can just see the divinity of the outside expressing what you already know and loving that. So it's like there's nothing to protect. You don't need to be seen as knowing. I'm not saying you felt that. I'm just saying it for other people. If you're like, yeah, I already know this, or it's like the divinity of seeing your human knowing, your intellectual knowing, expressed on the outside. They're really enjoying that. You don't need to be knowing. You don't need to be seen as someone that knows something.
Yeah, that's really can just give a lot of peace that to be with that, even if it is known, and then see it's just an expression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, the other day I went for a massage, and the woman I went for a massage with, she most probably massages people that aren't into spirituality at all. So she started giving me, basic talking about spirituality, and I went to say something. Like I went to say, not, and then she was so excited about the expression. I kind of just surrendered to, her idea of me, and then I just kind of like really fell in love with her excitement and passion about the subject.
Beautiful.
And it wasn't so much about like what she was teaching me, because I heard that maybe like thousands of times. It was just like seeing the beauty in her appreciation of expressing it. Like she was so excited and joyful, and we kind of like had this love affair in that moment. Like I kind of reserve, like maybe she felt like I was trying to defend something, and then I kind of realized it wasn't the time to speak, and I let go of that. And then I just so fell in love with her joy of it. And then I think she kind of fell in love with me, falling in love with her. We kind of had this like real love affair. And then we had this like phenomenal massage. Like it was so beautiful. Yeah. It was really...
Yeah, just like switching to be a room, to become somehow the room where it's been expressed, and just letting that flow.
Yeah.
What's coming out. And I know that sometimes, because I have this energy, then somebody is saying something and I feel already that energy. I want to say something, but then to really be with it and just let it flow. It's so amazing when you can do that. You can really let go. That is equally precious to just be there. And
you kind of then can become their words speaking. So you're kind of their words speaking. It's not like them speaking to you. You're kind of their words speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's really nice skill. Right. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, G. Yeah, really beautiful conversation.
Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, hi Natasha. I think I didn't say hello to you before. Hello. Yeah, hey William, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Just let me pin you.
Uh,
You put your video on, so you're going to get pinned now. Hang on.
okay. That's okay. That's
I
okay.
forgot how to do it though.
All right.
Here, you pin it here. Okay. So
You pin it?
I've forgotten how to do it. Okay, it's all.
It's okay.
Let me
Okay.
just try to do it one more time. It's so nice when I can actually see the person I'm speaking to. Maybe I go down to participants. Pin. There you go. Yes. Nice. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Okay. So I kind of like I'm asking. I kind of like want to sort of like weird this because I really like been following you for quite a while, and
And it's weird to
yeah.
speak.
What?
Is it weird to speak to the video of me? Like
Yeah.
normally you're just
Totally.
watching it and now there's like a backwards and forwards.
Yeah. Totally.
The,
So weird.
the YouTube video is suddenly speaking back to you.
Yeah. Exactly. So weird. So I don't even know where I should begin. But I mean, you have meant so much. It was like a part of my journey where I was like very confused and I didn't really understand what I was going through. And and your videos, and back then there wasn't that much like it is today, non-dual stuff. Um, and yeah, it had a like a big impact on me and my journey at that time. It was such a blessing
Nice.
that you were like it was kind of like only you and Adyashanti who really like mention it like explicitly, like okay, there is not anyone really here and there is no one doing anything, and that was like my experience, but no one actually talked about it. I was like, I'm going mad, in this
Yeah.
process. And I was like, this is delusional, and it was so hard to really understand what the mind couldn't get it, and it still can't, of course, but
Yeah.
it's or actually it can still, but these days it's kind of like more like um I don't know, it's so weird. The mind is a weird thing,
It is, isn't it?
you know?
It's like water, like trying to capture water. Like a thought comes and then as
Exactly,
quickly
yeah.
as it's come, it's gone again, and then we're left here. We're
Yeah,
left just
exactly.
here. It's and
Like everything, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
like
but
it's like constant.
yeah, but thoughts are in a way even more bizarre because who thinks them? Where do they come from? And we can't really see them, but we can kind of hear them. Or is it hearing a thought? Like, how do we know a thought? Like at least
Yeah.
with like external objects, it's like we can sort of touch them, we can sort of name them, and but a thought is so ethereal, and this, like I don't even know if scientists have worked out where thoughts come from. Like they've had these experiences where people have like heart transplants, and then they have other people's thoughts. Like so,
Yeah.
somebody like has someone else's heart, and then they have the thoughts and memories of the person's heart that they've had put into them. Like that's really weird. Like what is a thought?
Yeah,
And then
that
and
is
then when
weird.
you become really present, like or like what can happen, and this doesn't happen to everybody, but then you also become very sensitive to other humans' thoughts. So then it really gets
Yeah.
blurred, like who is
Yeah.
thinking. So you can have very bizarre experiences where you think something and then the other person says it, or you kind of know
Yeah.
what the other person's thinking or feeling. And
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so,
Yeah, and also yeah. And yeah, and you also can feel it like before it's happening, of
yeah,
course. But yeah, it's weird because when you're getting down to it, you can see also that there is like no distinction between a thought or a body or a table or anything really. You can see that it's kind of
yeah,
like the same thing in the
yeah,
end. And it just appears to be different, of course. But I don't know. It's it is a weird thing also to move in the world and with regular people. I mean, everyone is regular, but with people and and just do like regular stuff behave normally, and everything is so weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and also like I don't know, it's like um, it is so weird. I mean, when you're getting into this process more and more, I find it like it's kind of like you have to manage to kind of like jiggle like many things simultaneously, um, and to be able to kind of like shift and speak in different contexts and ways, and it's so weird. You have to be flexible, like you said. It's all about mental flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life kind of like teaches one that in this process, I feel.
Yeah.
And also with
Yeah.
the energetics going on and all this intense stuff, you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially when you have lots of like energetic movement and then
Yeah,
interacting with
yeah,
a like society that has
yes,
no context or
exactly.
idea
Yeah,
about this subject. If it happened and you were living in India, there would be more of a
yeah,
context for it. But you live in the
yeah,
West, and
yes,
it's the only religious
totally.
context that people know about is a God that's
Yeah,
in the heaven, and a lot of people now are atheists, so they
yeah,
reject the idea of God.
exactly, exactly. And all these kind of like dynamics going on, you know, between one and other people. I mean, when you're becoming more and more awakened and you become so sensitive, and you know, it's like I don't know, because I could really relate to all this kind of like intense Kundalini stuff you shared to us. You know, when one is shaking and one is thinking that one might turn into um, that one is becoming mad, and yeah, it's so weird. Everything
Yeah,
can be so weird
yeah,
on this journey, and
yeah,
that's the thing I guess I appreciating with you as well. I guess that when I have listened to you, you kind of like have this beautiful combination. I can really like feel you when you're speaking. I mean, you have this beautiful combination. Of course, your teachers were kind of like inclined towards this sort of like what is called Jnana yoga, Jnani. But you definitely feel like a bhakta, like a bhakti yoga.
yeah,
Like it, you have so much heart, you know.
yeah.
I like that a lot. And I'm actually I have like been living and practicing. I'm actually living right next to a Zen Buddhist temple, and we kind of like practicing like a lot of meditation there. We sit for like 10 hours a day during our retreats. We have those once every month, and it's so intense. Like it's so intense. It's a totally different level of practice. And the people who's living here, they're like, yeah, doing a lot of sitting. That's like the only thing we do during the whole days. And we're working, sitting, working, sitting, working, sitting. It's almost like you did with Roger. Like it's a very intense
Yeah, I used to
situation.
do Vipassana retreats as well. So I
Okay,
know the
cool.
10 hours of
Oh,
sitting
yes.
meditation and then working in between that as well. You always at these retreat centers have to do the work as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my question is, because I haven't asked any question, but my question is, so, because I guess I have kind of like elaborated myself on what I wanted to ask in the end. But my question was initially, or the thought about my question that appeared, of course, was something along the lines of that I wanted you, or wished that you might elaborate, like we actually already had done, ironically, about integration, because
Yeah.
that's like a part that I really have felt like a challenge, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I'm so glad that you're living near a Zen monastery, or you're living at a Zen monastery or a Zen retreat center, whatever you called it. Because community is a really important thing, and it's really something that a lot of Westerners struggle with that are into this subject. And the beautiful thing about the community is that they can stabilize the life and support you in the releasing of like really intense emotions. Like you might not notice it because you're there all the time, but it's so much better than just say if you're living with a family, if you had a family and living with a family that have no idea of spiritual awakening, and then you're going through all these intense processes. So even though it might not be perfect, because nothing ever is, but having a community around you is really beautiful, because it is such a intense process, the awakening or the integration of that into life. particularly as a Westerner, where this is seen as crazy, or I mean, it's better now, but it's still not accepted in society. And there's so much that happens. There's the whole body changes. There's so much energy that has to come out of the body. And then there's also the focusing and the concentration that is required as well, to not turn away from things, to not just automatically run into things. But I feel like as soon as you've awoken, you've stepped into the stream, and the stream is going to take you home. So everything that's happened since that awakening arose in you, it's hard to sometimes see that in retrospect, but it's actually been the perfect journey for you. So it might feel like at times it's gone wrong, or it's not quite right, or it's been hard, but all of that has created the perfect reflection back to you, for you to release more and more illusion for the body, or to allow the body to expand and more to that realization. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can actually see that part of it myself as well. But it is like you are explaining. I mean, in our Western culture and in our society, it is definitely a huge difference in this context. I mean, in comparison to like India or something, of course. But it's a weird process to go through, and we are blessed that we're having people like you or voluntarily like exposing themselves in this way.
This is a real huge blessing about the emerging of the internet, is the ability to find teachers and to access it. Like, it's a lot harder to access 20, 30 years ago. You had to go to India or send off for tapes. And now it's a lot more accessible. And there is a community that can be found online that can reflect a lot of the stuff back.
Especially people like you yourself, because there's so much out there, these days. So I don't know, I just appreciate when people like yourself are making themselves available.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I wanted to come out and having this kind of like a chat with you.
Thank you. And thank you for the appreciation. Like I just really, but the feeling is the feeling is I just really like love you. Like I mean that like in a personal way and not a romantic, but just I really love the people that I speak to, and that like it's just
I love you too.
It's just really like love
of
you.
Course.
Yeah, and I just want. The feeling is just wanting to share, wanting to not share as in share information, but share love.
Yeah, I can see it on you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But, I wanted to have this chat with you for a while, but I also have like 2 personal Zen teachers that I have the privilege to work very like close up with. But you have been such a magical part of my journey. So yeah, it's such a pleasure to.
Yeah. Thank you for coming online and like letting me see and hear and experience you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you too.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, beautiful.
Thanks.
Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah, really beautiful. Set to unpin. Yeah, it's really beautiful to like see, because from my side, like I'm expressing from this place of wanting to share love, but I often don't get to see people that I'm sharing it with. So it's really beautiful to have that opportunity. It's also quite vulnerable to say that online as well. Because with the Bhakti path, like the big pitfall of it is the misinterpretation of the love. So sometimes it's a bit vulnerable to speak about it. Yeah. Just feel lots of love now. Okay, so that was a long stream today. Just want to really thank everybody. So we can all thank ourselves as consciousness and beingness. And the unique expression of all of us here. Yeah, and I really, 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 really wish everybody everything. Yeah, with all my heart. And now I've just realised I didn't do my advertisement, so this feels very unnatural to do it in this moment because I just feel really like gooey and oozy in love. So to then speak about advertisement is hard. So just do it quickly. So there's lots of events that I'm doing. Next weekend I'm doing a talk near Flensburg. In January I'm doing a talk in the UK. And in June I'm doing a retreat. And then I'm also doing an online event in January. So you can see that on my website. And please make sure if you appreciate this video to like it and leave a comment. I know that's really a funny thing to ask for, but it really supporting the channel. Yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah, love you. Bye.